Anja, I give you the floor. Thank you so much for being here. Give an applause for Anja.
Thanks. Thank you. Yes, hello. Thank you for inviting me. I have to have my notes here because I didn't do this talk in English too often, so please excuse me looking at this iPad maybe from time to time. Okay, now that I heard about the very huge universe again of design thinking from Sitzel, you will see that I will be talking about a very small. We only just stepped into this big universe, and I can only talk about a very small part of it. But maybe it may be interesting for you to hear how to start, how it was for us to start, what we did, and how it felt for us. I will skip this. I'm director of public library in Würzburg. This is Germany, of course, and this is Würzburg. For all of you who don't know where it is 7 hours by train. Very easy to reach it. It has a population of about 125,000 people and about 30,000 students. We have big universities there, and this is the central library, the building of the central library. Just to give you a few figures so that you can think about your own library maybe and how the dimensions are. This is the central library. We have, I have a team of 40 staff members, and we are doing this design thinking things now with just staff members out of my team and with this external consultant, with Julia Bergmann, maybe some of you know her. We have 4 branch libraries, and the 5th one is now in construction, under construction. That was the reason to start with design thinking, to develop this new branch library. Inside this building, we have 3,000 square meters public space. We have about 1 million items checked out per year, 180,000 items of media per loan, about 1,500 or 2,000 people per day in the library, so we have very high usage, very high acceptance. The library has a very good image in Würzburg. It is very highly appreciated by the population, also by the administration, and the team is, so to say, traditionally very innovative. So when I started working there in 2010, I realized that the team is already very innovative, always striving for development, looking for the newest things to do. But nevertheless, I thought that it has been time for going another step. I was allowed to be part of this INELI network, Eric already mentioned. It's an international network of so-called library innovators, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And when I entered this network and started to hear from all the colleagues, there were colleagues from 25 countries, really all over the world, from African countries, Nepal, India, Aarhus. Marie from Aarhus was in the network, and also Mariken from, hi Mariken, from your country. And colleagues from the US and so on, so a lot of very widespread variety of people. And when I talked to them, that really opened my horizon somehow to what public libraries should be and how they could be and what they should offer and what roles they could play. So I took this as an example for how it opened my mind. Like this first sentence, we make a change in people's lives. I didn't hear that before in Germany. We haven't talked about it like this. We can make a difference for people's lives. We can help them with their lives. And I learned there that we should act and plan and do everything we do human and community-centered and aligned around the community needs and not around the library's needs. The thing we work for is not that in the end someone checks out one more book for the statistics, because it's important for the statistic to be in the ranking very high. That was one of the most important things in Würzburg when I came there. And then here talking to these international colleagues, I learned that there is something else about public libraries. It should be that the community needs are fulfilled, that the library does and offers what the community needs. Not what the staff needs or not what the collection needs. And then another thing was that came almost parallel, you know, when the library in Bibliotheken was opened. That was the first time that I got to know about Art Voss, and my mind started to think that this new branch library that we were planning should be something like a third place. So I have these two things came together in my mind, and I thought now we have the need to find a method to really find out about these community needs. And in this INELI network, the colleagues from Aarhus and Chicago started talking or were talking constantly about design thinking. And then I thought, okay, design thinking seems to be a right or a very appropriate method to use to find out about what the community needs, because the citizens of Würzburg did not come to our doors and did not come to us and say, please listen to us, we want to talk to you, we want to tell you what we need, we want to tell you what you should offer as a library. They didn't. They were content, I think, with what we did, because there were a lot of people in the house, a lot of people checking out items, so there was no problem. We didn't have a problem that we should have said, okay, we have to talk to them in a different way. It was just this realizing that this cannot be enough. So we found out about this design thinking for libraries. I saw the toolkit in Aarhus at the Next Library conference, and also I knew Julia before, because she's a trainer and consultant for libraries in Germany, and as a coincidence, or maybe there are no coincidences, but it was planned somehow, we popped up together at the Next Library conference in Aarhus at this IDEO pop-up stand that they had, where they were presenting the toolkit. And we started talking, and I said, I think this is the right thing to do when we plan the new branch library. And she said, okay, I want to offer this as a consultant in Germany anyway. So we came together as the first project for her and for us. And then also we hired Art Voss, genau. This is the building where the new branch will be. It's in there will be a totally new neighborhood due to historical conditions. There is a totally new thing that was a military area before, and now they are building a new neighborhood there for about 5,000 inhabitants that will all be moving there. And then I said we need a new branch library there. That all that started in 2011. And we said, okay, inside this building, we will be down here in the basement, and the basement floor and the ground floor will be the library. Every level has about 200 square meters. And we said, okay, we want to be the public living room or the third place in this new neighborhood, which is called Hubland. This was the first workshop we had together with Art and Julia. And for us, it was a first very surprising step. That the first thing that Art made us think about was this why. Why do you want to be there? What is your motivation to have a library there? And we had to really go deeper into our thoughts, not only say, okay, new suburb means new library. We had to really say, what do we want to achieve? What do we want to reach? What is our motivation? That was 2016. And when we started thinking about the new library in 2011, we did this traditional process. The architects and the administration responsible for the buildings in Würzburg, they asked us to give a room plan. So we said we want to have 10,000 books in there. So we need, I don't know how many square meters for books, and like this, very, very, very functional. And then Art came and Julia, and they said, let us start somewhere else. Let us start with this why. Why do you want to be there? And that was the first thing that was different for us in our way. Don't worry about the writing. That was when Art wasn't so good in German 2 years ago. He's now very good in German. And this is a mixture of German, Dutch, and English, I think. But out of this, we took our first subjects for our first design thinking teams. So we started the teams in 2017. We started with 4 teams. And each team had one of this subject to now explore about and find out about. This was always said that the new library should be a place of identification. It should be a place of inspiration for the people living in the new suburb, a place of participation, and a third place. So every team had one of those. And the teams consisted of 4 or 5 of my staff members, plus an external person. We had an elderly woman supported one of the teams, a student supported another team. Who else did we have? I don't know, but we have different people from outside the staff members in addition to the teams. And then they started running. We had a lot of workshop time in our place. This is genau. We always had also had fruit. As a little after the second and third and fifth workshop, I said, okay, the alibi bananas, because everyone was eating the sweets. And of course, we had the activities and the toolkit. Julia Bergmann translated it to German, so we worked a lot and very page by page with this activity workbook. I can really recommend it. So this is how we got started. Then about the process. The process for us, Julia explained it to us as it splits into 2 phases. The first phase of it is to understand the problem, and then the second is to solve the problem. So start with the first thing, to understand the problem, and to get started is that you get a phrase like this. How could we? Wie könnten wir? These questions always start with how might we? This is one of the method things. How might we? And it has to. You have to have a target group. These are the elderly people. The target group of this team, the elderly people. So we have this question. The question for the team is, how might we make the library a comfortable place to stay for elderly people? So around this, a very specific part out of, if you think about planning a new branch library, it is a very small and specific part that this one team now has to explore about. Sitzel already talked about a lot of different, a very big variety of methods that you find in this in the toolkit. What we mainly applied until now, I again realized how far we are, how much we are only in the beginning. We mainly conducted interviews and observations. What Julia told us and we find out then is that as in this phase, it is very, very important only to listen, talk to the people and just listen. Don't, in these interviews, don't come up with answers yet or with Rechtfertigung. Does anyone know? The word doesn't come to me. Justification, thank you. Genau. Just listen and write down what the people say, and that is very, very hard to do, we found out, because as librarians we are trained to answer, to always have the answer, quick answer. They have a problem, I have the solution. And in this phase you have to step back from that and just try only to listen and understand. Then what you see here is that the interview teams, we always were 2 people interviewing someone. We also found it not very easy to go home to the people, to meet them in their home, so we talked to them in the library. We have to work on that still. In the library or at school, we talked to students in their school and so on, so we didn't make it to their homes yet. Then this is that you come back, the teams come back, the expert team meets again, and you tell each other the story of the interview. How was it? What did he say? We have photos here, and the first name and how old the boy or the girl was, and then the interviewers tell the story, and the others listen and write these notes. Everything they hear, they write down on a sticky note and then put it there. And then you start to analyze. We start to analyze what we heard. like really, I heard him say da. Not yet he said, or not yet interpreting what he said, but only this I heard him say bum bum bum, and then you gather these things, and then you start to analyze them, find out about clusters. So we had to take the notes from that wall to the other wall, and again back to find clusters. You will find out that in every presentation you hear about design thinking, you will see all these sticky notes. Maybe we should talk about some sponsoring by 3M, or, and really recommendation buy the very sticky ones. The other ones will fall down after a while. That's what they're called. Okay, now you have patterns after a while, back and forth and so on, and you can find out patterns, and you analyze them so that you get insights. Now you say these are insights and findings that you can, ältere Menschen wünschen sich, people do this and this, and then elderly people seek occasions for inspiring conversations about literature in a fixed place, and we have lots of them. I only took one example to show you, but you have a lot of insights that are based on what you heard from different people, and it's a step further than also fitting to what Sitzer said. It's not what they said, what they want to have, but it's the underlying need that we found out or that we analyzed, because a lot of people said similar things. There is one sentence that Julia told us, and I think that is a very good thing to quote, that from Henry Ford. Maybe you heard about that, the inventor of cars. He said, if I would have asked people what they want, they would have said faster horses, and they wouldn't have thought about something like a car. So this is, I'm convinced that if we would ask people in Würzburg about what would you like to have in the library, no one would say a kitchen. No one would say I need a microwave because I want to warm my baby food or so on, because they are not used to that. They wouldn't think about that in connection with libraries, so they would never say that. But talking to them, we can find out that, okay, they would like to stay longer, they would like to have the opportunity to feed the baby and so on. So that is why I think this is a step further than just using a questionnaire or something. Now, until here it was understanding the problem. Now starts this solving the problem. So on the basis of these findings, we now go on with these how could we questions to go into the direction of the ideas of the solutions. How could we create an occasion, something that fits to the... And then this is the starting point for the generation of ideas, says the toolkit. You can read that later when you see it. With this how could we questions, we start to elaborate ideas. There is a brainstorming. You have very strict rules sometimes, 7 minutes or 16 minutes for brainstorming. After that, the bell rings, and then you have to just come over with your ideas and so on. So this is, you see here, this how could we questions, and then several ideas that we brainstormed, and we go on with those. Then there is in the activities workbook tells you to evaluate the different ideas. So in the end, you see this with these points here. You have to ask yourself several questions, and this gives points. And in the end, you come up with one idea that you said, okay, this is the one that seems us to be most appropriate. And also that is one of the things you are allowed to put into points. How much would we like to do this, to conduct this idea to reality? How much would it? How good would? How nice? How fun? How much fun would it be for us? 5 minutes, okay. Good. Then you decide. Okay, this should be the one that we take into a prototype. Next thing was the toolkit says that you have to build like a storyboard to think about how could we prototype it, what should it look, what should the prototype look like. You have to draw like a little comic, and this is one of our prototypes that came out of this idea. It's a combination of a digital and an analog wall for to interact with the elderly people, because not all of them want to go home and check online. They also want to talk to us. That's why we gave it a name and a face. This is another part of a prototype for a space for young families, where they want to have walls for interaction, and they also want to have parking places for their strollers. This is the whole space for. You see that our prototypes are until now very much based on cardboard boxes that we built together. And this is one. In this example, I want to show you now how it went into the direction of realization. I will show you later. This is we called it a meadow for toddlers, where they can be and not. They are fenced in somehow. I'll come back to that later. Okay, then we have to also, of course, present the prototypes. This is a space inside the library where we talk to customers. Then a little bit shocking was when Julia said to one of the groups where I was member of that you cannot talk to customers. Your target group is non-customers, so of course you have to go out of the library and talk to people outside about your prototype. She told us shortly before we were ready to go in this library space. So we were a little bit shocked at the first moment. Went just outside the library. This is the library wall and the door, you said, just outside. But it really made a difference. People came, we contacted people who were walking along, said, we come from the public library, and they said, this is the library, okay. And we, remember what I said before, it's very much appreciated and so on. Everyone knows where the library is. Nothing of that is true. So it was very, very interesting to talk to these people. Maybe I go on a little further. Here's what we presented the design thinking results to Art. And just to show you this was this prototype. This is what he made out of this meadow for toddlers. It should be look like a balloon. They are fenced in here. And now this is how far it is now in reality. So it's really coming step by step. It will be reality one day, I hope. This is another thing that he sketched that was the other way around. He invented this as a making and gaming area for teenagers, and then afterwards we talked about that with teenagers, and we had prototypes making together with teenagers. This is not people but lamps hanging there. So now it won't be an airship or a Zeppelin like in one piece, but it will be something different from a Zeppelin. So we did it the other way around also. Then we presented it at an occasion where in the area of this new suburb, people were invited by the city administration. We went there and presented our ideas and our plannings, and there were a lot of people. This is our walls here. This colleague and I were there for 7 hours, and we were talking, each one talking 7 hours from beginning to end to people. There was very, very much interest, very positive and constructive feedback from the people. So that was really a very good thing to be there and to see how they are willing to answer, willing to talk about it once you give them the opportunity. You find this in the toolbox. The approach is, and this is my last slide. I have some comments on from how it was for us. The first one, it is Patron Centered. You can read that yourself. Starts and ends with the patron's needs. We thought that we were doing that already before, but maybe now we realize that maybe that before design thinking was more like we only want your best and we know what is your best. Maybe it was something like that. So it is a different thing to do it with design thinking, a very different thing to look at the library with the eyes of the customer or with the citizen. It's really different. The second one, based on learning by doing. It's about getting out from behind the desk, out of the comfort zone. It was surprising for us how hard that was to leave this comfort zone behind the desk, because we thought, oh, yeah, we are talking to customers every day. That shouldn't be a problem, but it's really something else if it's not just this question and answer, but if you should go there, maybe to their homes even, and talk to them for an hour or so. That was really something we still have to get used to, I think. Experimental. It's a non-linear process. Yeah, that was also different for us. Until now, we were used to act what we called most efficiently and straightforward and developing something. And now we think it's 100% perfect, and now we get it to the public. And it's not easy for us to really step backwards and say, okay, this idea, maybe it wasn't that good, or the prototype don't fit, we have to go back and do it again, and so on. That's really not so easy to show imperfection. We are used to everything has to be perfect. So that's something we have to learn. The mindset is freshly naive. You have to act like you learn something about your library, like you know your library so well, but now you have to be open for learning new things. That's also not very easy because we do know the library so well, and we cannot imagine that there are new things about the library we know so well. So that is really something you have to work on. Creatively content, about losing the fear of failure, that is really hard to, because we are used to, as I said before, knowing the right answer and seeing the beauty in imperfection is not what we were trained or what we said how we could act. Everything had to be perfect before, so this is new. But it gives you freedom. We experience that it gives you freedom and that you can let go of this tough perfection thing. And optimistic, always have in mind that in the end it will be good. That is something that I really have to tell my people from time to time, that when we are in a down, say, oh, it's so much effort and so much time and it's so hard and so on, that I was okay, but in the end, and it will be different and it will be good and it is fun and so on. Yeah, I think that was it. Now you will see these, I can really recommend, we really worked hard with this activities workbook. And this is one of my key findings from this INELI network, that libraries change lives. That's why I put it on the last slide. Anja. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Really good job.
Thank you.
And you also have a question for the audience, maybe.
Yes. From German perspective, we always thought that the libraries in Scandinavia and in the USA and also in the Netherlands are a little bit ahead of German libraries, and you are role models for us. So I would be interested in how new will this be for you to talk like this to your citizens? Are you used to it, and you just say, okay, now we call it a method and we call it design thinking and do it a little bit more systematically maybe, but we are used to go out there and talk to them, or will that be new for you too?
Anyone? Is it new for you, the design thinking, going out and talking with the customers?
Yeah, hi, I'm Cora Koenig from Library of Rotterdam. We talk about it a lot, but we don't do it because we don't know how to get the people to come to us and talk with us. That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
So we have to go to them, yeah. So this is a method to do it.
Yeah, but that's also not so easy.
In Delft, I'm from the University Library in Delft. We had a program, but it was originally designed for completely different reasons. But we went out to the student houses to have debates with the rector of our board, and we went to all different student houses to have discussions. And the newspaper was the reason to have the discussions. So every time we had a newspaper of the day, and we have statements there, and then discussed it. So we went to all the different student houses and had an idea of the people that came in the library as well. So it was you can just copy the idea.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Questions, maybe questions for Anja. Questions in the room for Anja. There's many questions over here. I'll take the easy one.
Hi, I'm Liedewij Paris. I'm independent. I call myself the Embassy of Reading because I want to stimulate that people have fun when they read literature. And when you put up the slide about the why, it reminded me a little bit of Sinek, of the Golden Circle, the why, the what and the how. Is that related to it in any way that you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Spontaneously, I don't know the
You don't? Okay.
model you're talking about.
It's a business book, how to focus
Yeah.
what you can do and innovate within your company. So
So maybe, do you know or not?
yeah, Sinek. Read it. Very good little movie on YouTube as well.
Okay.
It's fun.
Thanks.
There was a question over there, maybe, Sarah? Oh, Erna here, yeah.
Erna Winters, Bibliotheek Kennis. Could you tell me, you told about the teams that you had someone supporting them, not the coach, but the one from outside, for instance, an elderly person. Did this person also have some sort of group to talk to? Because otherwise you would get the opinion of just one person, and, well, not every elderly person is the same.
That was not in the method, but we chose people. No, the elderly person was one I knew before, and I know that she's a journalist, and I know that she's talking to a lot of people of her age, and she's engaged in very different groups in the city and so on. So with her, I knew it. Then we had the student was a recommendation from another library where he was for a 1-year internship, and now he moved to Würzburg. So he wasn't involved with, we hoped that he would be a representative of students who are coming to the city, who are new in the city, and so on. So there are no groups organized for them to go back to and talk to. There was
Okay.
one more, I think. No.
I have one more question. So when you start out doing this and you go outside the library, you talk to people, library users, non-library users, and you get them enthusiastic, you get feedback. How do you make a community of that? Did you think about that? How we can involve them the next time that we have a question? Did you keep their addresses? Did you somehow connect them or not?
We kept their addresses. We also gathered email addresses from those who talked to us in this occasion that we saw, where a lot of people were. But that's all, unfortunately. We didn't invite them yet to look at the construction space or something like that, which would be nice. Also, this elderly woman several times said, "How is it? We got this. That got out of our focus. Unfortunately, I think we should have made more emphasis on keeping them into a group and keeping them informed and so on."
Okay,
Yeah.
that's something for next time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anja.
Thank you.